All right, folks, we are live at 7 o'clock Wednesday night, Mountain Time here in Alberta, coming live from both Ponoka and Calgary. I'm your host, MacKenzie Wilson. Alongside me, my trusty sidekick, companion, my partner in crime, Chris Noble. And we're here for another series of live landlording shop talk, the only dedicated show to landlording in Alberta. So I realized I wasn't even looking at the camera. I'm looking up at Chris's beautiful face. Um, so we got some super cool stuff queued up for you guys tonight. Two actual guest speakers. One's a little bit of a short sneak preview, some stuff we got coming down the pipe. It's super exciting, some value-added services for you guys. It's pretty cool. We kind of got getting what we've got coming together. So, Chris, how's your week been so far?
My week's been great. I've the amount of questions coming over our page is just and I've actually some people felt their questions are a little too long, so they've contacted me personally. I just got off the phone with a couple folks tonight that were struggling with their tenants and their situations, and you know what? It's just really cool to be able to help some people out and feel that you've empowered them to take back control of their situation. And I've said this many times. You got to run this like a business. Don't run it like a charity. And don't run it. Don't run it from your heart. Run it from your head, because that's really what I saw tonight. I saw that happening in the discussions. And you know what? I give people encouragement to feel empowered to take care of their stuff.
It's so true. You know what? And as we've kind of we're working to level up this group of people and make it the best seller they need so they can run their landlording business as best as possible. I view your role and my role in this is just let's enable everybody. There's so much valuable content in this group and what people are doing with each other, the culture. Our engagement rate is over 96%. So what that means is 96% of this group is active in the last 28 days helping each other out. So I mean, that's through the roof. So it's really a testament to this community and what we've got going. And Chris and I are really just here to make things better for you guys and take your business to the next level. So awesome. I've got a few things going to hit off my list here. And then you and I, Chris, will get into our pro tip of the week. And then we'll run into our first sneak peek, our first guest speaker, who's got a 5-minute little nugget for us to get through. So one thing that I've been reviewing our last couple live sessions. I've reviewed how they've gone and how we're delivering our content. And I just want to make sure I'm coming through to you guys as honest and truthful as possible. And I reviewed and the way I started the last 2 sessions, I talked about how I've never had an eviction. And I kind of thought I sounded a little bit cocky, and that's absolutely not the case. And I wanted to maybe kind of share about some of my bumps and bruises along this process of being a landlord. So it is true that I haven't gone through the court system for an eviction, but I am not invincible by any means. I've had my troubles along the way. So I've had 2 situations, and maybe I can kind of get a little bit personal here and share what I've been through and how I've handled them, just to kind of, we're all in this together, right? When we're trying to run our real estate investment businesses. So situation 1, our second property that we got came with tenants. Now, if I would say right off the bat, if you had a choice, I'd always try to start with an empty slate, because then you can pick and choose the tenant that you will work with going into your property. When you somewhat adopt the tenant coming with a real estate purchase, you don't always know what you get, because one, you're kind of forced to take that person depending on how the purchase arrangement is set up. And so in my case, I had a tenant that come along. They were already tenants for 5 years with the previous landlord. First year was fine. My second year getting into that, things got a little more challenging, and it became as if they were dictating to me the terms since they had seniority. And unfortunately, the relationship was deteriorating over time. And so how I resolved that situation, since I was only doing termed leases, I just did not renew that lease when it came up due. And we simply went on along our ways. So that was one way to solve that problem. The second problem I eventually came across was I had a young gal I rented to. She was phenomenal. Second year came up, we renewed. She got a boyfriend who I actually went through the same vetting process. And to be frank, he would have never got into my property. But because I had a track record with the gal, she had paid rent on time. She's been great. I said, you know what? I'll let this work for you. I mean, I'm not here to break up a relationship or anything like that. If you want to bring him in, sure, go ahead. Well, a few months later, maybe 4 months later, that gentleman got arrested by the police at my property, and instead of having sticking around and what would be the word here, just having that conversation with the police, he decided to run and jump out the window of the bathroom. It's a bungalow, so it wasn't too far or anything. So of course, the police take off around the corner, and this is all I've been told after the fact, and to go get him. Well, this is a sweet property, and my lucky day, I had my brand new tenant moving in downstairs the exact same day. She's got 2 dogs. So what happens is she's carrying a box or coming up from the basement from carrying a box in, and 2 police come around with the guns pointed, and she had a gun pointed right at her face. Literally, not even 24 hours of owning the being in her lease, and I was like, oh, it was just, I was so embarrassed. It was bad. So in this situation, I worked with the tenants upstairs, and I gave them a little bit of a cushion to move out, and I asked them to leave, and we did some negotiations there, and they actually did cooperate and move out. So sorry, that's a little bit of ramble. I'm already at 9:06. I'll skip our pro tips to the end because I did promise to get these guys on a little bit sooner. Chris, do you want to add a quick riff on that before we bring in our guest speaker?
No, let's keep moving because we don't want to lose our captive audience here. And I'll just say this: anybody who's watching, share with any of your fellow landlords, get them on here.
Yeah.
And put your comments up, your questions up. Let us know you're here. Love to hear from you as we go. Like we said, tonight the content is driven by what your needs are. So yeah, we will switch on the fly to answer what we can of your questions.
Totally. And you got some comments coming. Hey Renee, nice seeing you. Awesome. Thanks for saying hi. I've got a Facebook user saying hello, gentlemen. Thank you for saying hi. Yeah, get active. Throw some highs in there. We feed off of your guys' energy. So, all right. So first guest speaker, we have a co-founder of SingleKey. They are a awesome company. They do credit check and reporting, and they really help reduce risk for vetting tenants. And they have a really unique offering, and Violer is going to hop on with us. So let me bring him into the cast.
All right. Hey, guys. Cheers from Toronto. I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for the great intro, MacKenzie. And, as you mentioned, that's exactly what we do. So at SingleKey, really, our mission is to help landlords find the right tenant and manage their risks, right? And you guys are both landlords. If I were to ask you, hey, what are your top 1 or 2 risks that you're concerned about when it comes to your rentals, what would you say?
It's got to be rent coming in every month.
That's it, right? So that's exactly right. Now, how amazing would it be if we had if there was an insurance policy out there that you could subscribe to, and basically you could do away with the risk of tenants not paying. So. And that's exactly what we do. So with the rent guarantee program, we pretty much guarantee rental income to landlords, even if the tenants are unable to pay. We cover damages to their property for up to $10,000, and we even cover legal fees to evict troublesome tenants if they have to. So we're very excited to kind of talk about that with you guys next week, and even answer some questions in terms of how that program works. Yeah, and in addition to that, also our tenant credit and background check, we're very proud of that. We have one of the fastest and easiest reports, in the market in Canada. It includes a full Equifax report, a criminal background check, and we have some exciting news coming up next week, where we are working together to put together an exclusive access and pricing for Alberta Landlord Facebook group members. And hoping to do a bit of a demo and Q&A with you guys next week as well, so we can learn a bit more about how to appropriately read the reports, what to look out for, and some tips for you as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so one thing we got really excited when we were got in contact with Viller, they had their success rates in the 9%. So basically, every time they put an applicant or tenant through the application process, they had over 9% of them filling out and actually completing the process. So they have a very what would be the right word for it?
Maybe user friendly, right? Just we are we're quick and agile, so we always keep an eye on our application forms, and we're constantly going through and tweaking them to make sure that It's super easy to use, low friction. We're not demanding too much information from the tenants, but we're giving them the option to put in as much info as they want.
Your uptake numbers are phenomenal. So, and I know I've seen some people mention the group where they do their initial phone call, they get the tenant qualified. Yeah, they're interested. They send the application, and they get crickets in the background. They don't hear anything back from the tenant. So I think your offering is unique in that factor that you can execute that high level. On the other thing that's really cool, your credit information that you guys are providing, it's probably the most detailed out there. And I would say it's probably more detailed than Neighborly, what I've relied on in the past. And probably the one really cool feature that we'll give a little sneak tidbit right now is talk about the interest payments and
I was just going to mention, thanks for teeing that up for me, MacKenzie. So we are proud to say that we do include a full Equifax report in there, and we try our best to summarize the important pieces at the very top. But one cool feature that we have is to kind of take a look at the monthly debt payments for tenants, right? Because you can have someone with a fantastic credit score that has, let's say, $50,000 or $100,000 of debt, and that's really going to weigh on their ability to make their monthly rent payments, because they could have monthly interest payments of up to $1,000 or $2,000 a month, thereby diminishing their disposable income that they would use to pay a rent. So that's something you definitely want to keep an eye on as you're trying to figure out what's your rent to income ratio for your tenants as you approve them. And we're very happy to kind of empower you guys with that information. And I'd love to kind of work with you guys in a kind of a give and take. Tell us how you do it, just because we want to make sure that it seamlessly fits into your process, and we can kind of work together to make this your own tool that you can use to make your life easier.
That it is so cool. So that and you kind of you told me you've got the next talking point. So I'm really excited about this. Is you guys are willing to provide us a feedback mechanism. So as us being the consumers, the landlords, how we're using the tool. If we're finding things are working really well or not working really well, you guys are willing to build or customize your solution for us, and just to basically make it better. It's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely, and that's how we got to where we are, is by listening to customers and making it better, and kind of you telling us how you'd like to work as opposed to us telling you. So very excited to work together to get something out there that the people are happy with. So thanks for bringing me in, guys. Very excited to talk to you next week, and tune in for some great info on credit reports and our rent guarantee program.
Cool, awesome.
Hey, I just got to throw some fun points in here.
Yeah,
we're 75-25 women to men on our thing, right? On our group.
Yeah, demographics. Yeah, 3/4 female, the male. You bet.
Okay, so I get a message on the side here that from my other means here from one of our ladies in the group that said, "Who's the dreamy guy?"
That's a side benefit of that as well.
So you got the girls' attention, so I guess we got to have you back on here, buddy.
Anytime, guys. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So, guys, what we'll do going forward, we're targeting end of next week. Then we'll have a special segment, and what we'll do with Viller is we'll go through. We'll do. We're gonna break it probably into 3 components. We'll have all the kind of the features and the facts you kind of need to know about the product. So there's 2 things going at play here. One is a preferred pricing on credit checking, which obviously you want to be doing for every time you bring in a tenant to your property. And on the second thing, if you're looking for some additional protection, or maybe you're not getting the best quality of tenants, you might want some additional peace of mind. There's also an assurance offering you can get on the tenant to protect that rent coming in and damaging to your property. So there's 2 things at play. We'll have a special segment show next week on that, including how to get access to the pricing and all that good stuff. So that's coming down the pipe.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's a ton of questions coming up. So I'm happy to kind of hang around with you guys in the next session to really kind of get in depth, get in the weeds and talk about how the program works.
We'll have you back. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, enjoy your day. Thanks for having me.
On board there, the value that you're going to bring to this page and to the tenants, or sorry, the landlords, is phenomenal what we've been working on. So I'm excited to do this with you.
We have a lot of engaged users in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and we've also tried to make our offering as especially for some of the landlords that have a higher volume and are finding that they're doing a lot of reports on a daily or on a monthly basis. So we've taken away a lot of the steps to kind of reduce that processing time. Within 30 seconds, you're in and out, and you've got the results back within 5 minutes of entering tenant info. So I'm sure we'll have something that you guys are going to like.
Excellent.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, have yourself a good night, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, MacKenzie. Take care, guys. Bye.
Okay, take care. Okay, awesome. That's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah. So we got another guest speaker lined up. We've been kind of promoting him. This is Alex, a good friend of mine. I had the fortunate opportunity to cross paths with him at a real estate meetup in Saskatoon. Oh, we're 2020 now. It might have been, I don't know if that was 2019. It might have even been 2018. I'm a little vague on the time here, but a phenomenal guy. He's super cool. He's pastor by day. He's got a family of 6 kids. I always have fun talking to this guy, and he gets my creative juices and my creative thinking always going. He loves anything crowdsourcing, and he's very in tune with these online platforms, and hence why he's our Airbnb specialist. So we'll get him on right now.
Nice.
Hey, Alex, we got you on live. You got your mic mute, so we'll see if you're there.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, MacKenzie and Chris, and thanks for letting me speak here.
Yeah.
I love talking about, the online platforms just really interest me. And and Airbnb short-term rentals is no exception. So thank you so much for what you guys are doing, for the value you guys are providing. I'm a landlord myself. I also have Airbnb. So a little bit about myself. Do you want me to go ahead, MacKenzie?
Give us your elevator pitch for sure.
Okay. All right. So I moved to Saskatoon in 2014 from Florida. Don't ask me why I moved from Florida, because it's a long story. Okay. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I moved to the Philippines when I was 16. Then I married my wife. She's from Long Beach, lived in LA, moved to San Francisco, Dallas. Now I'm in Saskatoon. So, we've had a lot of experiences, but when we moved here in 2014, we rented for 1 year. And then in 2015, the landlord who was coming in for the landlord we were staying at, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought of living in your house for free?" And I said, "I never heard of that." And, I just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's book, right? And he said, increase your liability. lower your liabilities, increase your assets. And I said, he was talking about making everything into an asset. So, so this guy came out of nowhere. His name was Bud Penny. He's a realtor here in Saskatoon. He said, "Why don't you buy a duplex and have one side of the house pay your other side?" And then kind of like what you guys are doing, in a way. But the cool thing with the property we bought, it was a non-conforming duplex, so technically it could be a fourplex. So we decided, I was telling Bud, I said, "Bud, there's this thing called Airbnb, and it's really popular." And he goes, "Man, I've never, I'm just straight up landlord." And so basically, I'm old school. He said, "I don't deal with the internet.
Yeah.
I deal with Abacus." All right. And then I was just like, well, I heard this thing is cool. And, I'm a computer science major. So I'm always like, let's figure out a way that technology can do something better. Well, anyway, he gave me the pitch, and I was like, "Man, this is awesome. Just like living for free. Never heard of that." And then so we ended up moving into this house, and we had to spend a lot of money on it to get it to where it needs to be. Well, I have 6 kids. At the time I had 4. And I said, "Hey, I told my wife, I said, what if we Airbnb this thing?" And then, so it was like our side was 1,000 square feet. I said, "Okay, let's fit all 4 people, 4 of our kids and us in one side, and we'll Airbnb the top." Because I know we're going to be running like a zoo upstairs if we were upstairs. So we ended up, there was only about 200 Airbnbs in Saskatoon around that time. And I had a regular tenant. She was actually Filipino. I'm Filipino. So, you talking about inheriting tenants, and I have a story about that with the other property, but I inherited her. Well, anyway, she became my cleaner for my Airbnb. Perfect. And so, like, instead of paying her, I would just tell her, "Hey, the $50 per cleaning, why don't you just take it off your rent?" So I don't have to, it helped me from the tax part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay, and because she's just paying me less rent. So at the end of the year, it was a win-win, right? It was like that $50 I'm paying is worth whatever without taxes being
sure, at 30%, right? So.
Yeah. So it's just like, hey, I'm making out good. Well, the first year, we were one of the few Airbnbs at that point. Prior to COVID, there was about 600 Airbnbs by that time. As you can imagine, there was only 200 Airbnbs in Saskatoon, and we ended up, just killing it. I mean, our mortgage plus our our rent. Like basically, we were coming out after utilities were paid, after cable, after everything. We were up $1,000. You talk about cap rate, right? we were just laughing our way to the bank, right? Because there was no competition at that point. And so we did that for about 2 years. And I said, we're making about, if you consider the tax savings we're having and everything, we're making like 100,000. It's like an extra job that we added. But we, it's the Robert Kiyosaki book. We made our liability into an asset because your largest liability is your house or your car, right? If you can make that into a money making machine, then the sky's the limit. Then you can do all whatever. Anyway, so I'm trying to stay on top. I don't want to. I could go on forever. So I'm a pastor. That's the problem.
I'll reel you in a bit. So
okay.
that's super cool. So if we fast forward a little bit today.
Yeah,
you're about 6 Airbnbs in Saskatoon, and you were also doing something called Airbnb Arbitrage up in Edmonton, and you had a company.
Well, okay, I can run through this really fast. Okay, so here's what happened.
Okay, good.
Here's what happened. So we did the fourplex. I got the bug for it, right, and then I took this course called B&B Formula by Brian Page, very popular guy. Paid $2,000. But it just gave me the so basically I figured I can't keep buying houses, right? Because so we ended up buying a house in Boston, and we made that into an Airbnb, and that I have so many stories from that house because it's over 400 years old. So and
Right.
but and the laws in Boston are ridiculous. Talking about I inherited a tenant there that I paid her $5,000 to get out of there because she was going to squat there for 2 years. So yeah, that's how it is in Boston. But so we ended up, and then we did an Airbnb with an RV, and then I bought an RV in Saskatchewan, drove it down to Las Vegas to my brother-in-law's house. I said, hey, make it an Airbnb. And over by Death Valley, there's not a lot of hotels, so we ended up doing an Airbnb with a Saskatchewan RV. And then
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then so that's when I got the Brian Pages thing. And then I ended up saying, I can't keep buying properties, but I could ask landlords, I could put an ad on Kijiji and say, hey, instead of getting a tenant, why don't you just I'll be your tenant. It's not like I have any, basically I would give them a pitch that I'm a company, so I'll pay you on time. Wouldn't you want to, this is like corporate housing, right? Yeah. I'll be responsible. So people took me up on the offer. They're giving me their $700,000 houses. And then we were just like, these houses were like pimp my house houses. Like what
would you find a common objection when you approach someone like a landlord like one of us to say, hey, I could be your corporate tenant and I'd do this Airbnb model? Like what would people usually be concerned about?
Well, first of all, I had the track record, right? I mean, I'd been doing it for 4 years. To that point, I was doing it for 3 years already. So
yeah.
They would see, you could look at my profile on Airbnb and you can see. Now it's hard. Now I've had people have consulted and they start from scratch. I mean, some of them I just let them use my. I'm like you, MacKenzie, man. I'll just give it away for free. I don't care. I mean, you need people. I know if I just keep giving value, it's going to come back anyway, right?
Yeah,
that's how I live, right?
Absolutely.
So, I just give it away. Hey, use my profile. So, and I'll. What's your name again? Just in case they call me. And so it's and that Airbnb. No, there's no expert on Airbnb. You'll find landlords that are experts, right? But you're not going to find I'm like an expert in Airbnb compared to as far as many years I've been doing it, right? Because I've had to file claims. I'd had to kick people out, and I've had somebody take my Netflix account. I mean, the stupidest stuff.
Yeah.
Had cops come, had a SWAT team come in, and basically this was actually that was in Edmonton. Edmonton's a little different than probably Calgary or Saskatoon. But
maybe dive into those differences so right now we've been talking about this. Obviously, we're post-COVID right now. We're trying to turn the economy back on. We're doing these these rollouts of new businesses coming back online. We don't even have professional sports yet. So obviously the Airbnb business pretty much went from full steam ahead, overnight turned off, right? So I mean that would put a bind on a lot of people. So I mean, my takeaway number one from a landlord, I got 3 glasses of water just in case this happens. Yeah. My number one takeaway first is Airbnb should be a value add and strategy. It shouldn't be your primary strategy, because if something happens, you need to have a backup means to make money off that property if you're going to be going out and taking mortgage on it. So that's food for thought. It should just cash flow in multiple scenarios. But you mentioned there's a big difference between the Saskatoon and Edmonton market. Like, give us some feedback. What does that mean?
Well, Edmonton's a tourist area, right? I mean, there's what, 3 million people that go into the mall, or 30 million. I don't. The numbers are ridiculous, right? In Alberta, I mean, in Edmonton itself, there's a lot more. You know, a lot of them are there to party. And I think you'd ask me about tenant. If you had booked somebody and you can't see their pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are some recent comments people are mentioning in the group.
Yeah, well, with Airbnb, they've actually loosened up on canceling people. So even if they instant book, you can just say I'm not comfortable, and you don't have to give a reason. At one point, they were being punks, for lack of a better term, and they were just docking your rating.
Right, and your rating is probably one of the biggest factors to your competitive advantage when you're out in all the listings. To salesperson's like 5-star reviews, 100 reviews that they're doing good, or there's the superhost status as well, right?
Yeah, the superhost status is okay. Most people don't even know what that is.
I don't, so I'm going to explain it to me.
It's just they have certain arbitrary metrics that you have to meet, and it's just a bunch of stupidity.
Okay.
But basically, most people are looking for the price, and they're looking at your pictures, right? I mean, if your pictures suck, I mean,
yeah, you got to market, right?
Yeah. So superhosts don't mean anything.
Okay.
So when you said something about COVID, here in Saskatoon, we haven't really seen our margins dip that much.
Wow.
COVID. No.
So you staying busy? You've been busy like through March and April and May.
Yeah, well, I think because people are still traveling, right? I mean, there's within the province, right? I mean, here's a place like Saskatoon. This is the only Costco till Regina, right? I mean,
there's your amenity, right? Totally.
Yeah. I mean, and then we have the RUH, the provincial hospital. I mean, we never run out of. I mean, unfortunately, people are still, having funerals and stuff. They have to come down here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, because it's the hub for, especially if you go north to Prince Albert or, so I mean, Edmonton, I noticed that and good thing my lease was up when I did the rental arbitrage thing using the BNB formula.
Okay, before we hop in it, what is that? Just high level, what is Airbnb arbitrage?
Basically, that's when I talk to you and say, hey, give me this house for $1,200.
Okay.
And
you third party it out. You come in, you rent from me, and then you run your Airbnb.
Yeah, and then you don't have to deal. You don't have to deal with anything. You just, I pay for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you could buy short-term rental insurance, which you could do. There's some, I think I sent it to you, MacKenzie, that you can do per day on top of Airbnb's host guarantee, which
there's some unique offerings out there.
Yeah. So Airbnb's, I mean, you could never have this $1 million coverage on a tenant. I mean, do whatever you want to do with the house, right? That never concerned me. Because it was the 2 times I got paid out more than what I asked for. I mean, one guy destroyed a couch, and of course the couch was like 8 years old, and it was really hard to value. I mean, it was nice, but I had worked out something on the side with the landlord, and Airbnb said, you know what, this is worth $3,800. I said, and I was going to give him 35, and he's like, okay, we'll take the 38. So,
okay, there you go.
But they're a $1 billion company, so they don't care. I mean, that's nothing to them.
Okay, so just for me, myself, listening to some of this, so just to focus a little bit more, because we're going a little bit too fast, even for me. So you're coming in and saying to me, say, Chris, you know what? There's a market in Ponoka for, say, whatever it is here. Oh, Ponoka Stampede. And I feel that I can rent your places out, and I will pay you what you're asking for rent, but you now in turn set it up. You set up a contract with me, and Airbnb does the advertising for you as well. Is that the way that works? And then you bring people in.
Yeah, there's 300 million Airbnb users, right? So it's just like Amazon, right? It's just like you don't even have to. There's no marketing involved. It's just you just need to run your business.
Create an account.
Yeah.
So you create an account, and you put you would say put whatever house I had, you'll advertise that and the benefits of it and what's offered.
I'll give you an example. I have a basement suite I was renting in Edmonton. It was near at West Edmonton. It was in Rostern. It's a new area next to West Edmonton Mall. And he was asking for 1,100. I said, I'll give you 1,200. Where have you seen a tenant say that it'll give you more than what? Because to me, $100 is nothing.
Okay,
when it comes to Airbnb.
But what else?
I said, I'll give you 1,200. Just give it to me for 6 months, and we'll try it out. And so she loved it. She loved the arrangement because you have access to. It's not rented every day, right? If I get 70%, I'm making a profit. So the main reason she gave it to me is because she hated that she had a tenant downstairs, so she could never get to the air filter. That was her stupid reason. And she said, I want you to take over my property because I want to get to my air filter every 3 months and not have to go through a cat and dog, whatever that was down there before. And honestly, if you look at my Airbnb from 2015, it looks exactly the same. If you had a tenant there for 5 years, it's not going to look exactly the same as when you left it, because I get it professionally cleaned every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, twice a week, right?
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's amazing opportunity. I mean, I like regular tenants too, but it's nice when you talk about diversify. That's diversifying, right? Is to know how to do this market at the same time have appreciation for what you guys are doing. So I mean, it's just another, like you said earlier, MacKenzie. It's like another a fallback. Like I can go on vacation right now and pay for my vacation with somebody renting my house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
You can't do that with a tenant, right? So, I mean, that's it fits my lifestyle because I like to travel and stuff. So, I mean, and I already know how the claims process works. So it's not an issue. I mean, I'll rent my house all day.
So I've got some questions coming in, so I'd like to queue up some of these questions. I know the one thing you also mentioned when we first talked about this was if you're a landlord in between tenants, maybe you're doing some renovations, maybe you're going to go sell, you might have a 3 or 4 month vacancy, there could be a variety of reasons. Bringing in a temporary Airbnb might be a way to get some cash flow to cover those debt servicing and the costs coming every month, or at least reduce that hit. So there's some neat takes on that as well.
Okay, because we have a mutual friend, Corey.
Simcoe,
yeah. He'd come to me like about that thing that you're talking about, and by the way, because of Airbnb, we've had the rental arbitrage thing, we've had I do it myself for my vacations and stuff, and for my rent. I do consulting for it, right? And then at one point I was managing all the cleaners for different people. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of businesses, niches that come out of just having this experience, right? It's just and to me it's fun, right? It's fun. I never have to worry about evicting anybody. Honestly, if they stay, like if you're MacKenzie, if you're my guest at my Airbnb and I say you need to get at 11:01, you're trespassing. You don't have a rental contract.
No, right? You're right. Yeah.
I can call the cops on you and say this person is trespassing.
It's the Innkeepers Act,
and we've done that.
It's a lot more restrictive. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We've done that. We've had a person who was high and it was 11:01. We called the cops. They dragged him out.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, he was passed out, had all this paraphernalia on top of the table, but he's done. We're done with him, right? I mean, you can't do that with a tenant. You can't even go there when So I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, of course, it's not all perfect. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and say it's all perfect.
No, like you said, it goes back to putting some systems in place to make the business run a bit smoother. So I'm going to queue up our first audience question here. So
sure.
Unfortunately, if people give us access, we can get the names. But right now, you're going to be called Facebook user because that's what I have. It says, after a tenant moves out, how long do they have to file a dispute over the damage deposit amount that was returned? Does this change if they've already cashed the check or not? Oh, this might be for long term. This might not be Airbnb. Sorry. What comes here is landlord, how to give them a
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, I'm just reading them through. Okay.
So is it Larissa's? Yeah, that's one. How are you finding profit margins for rental Airbnb? So go to that.
Rental arbitrage?
Yeah, the margins right now. So can you repeat the question, Chris?
Okay, it's Larissa says, if you go down, starts off with how. I should be on your screen there. It says,
oh, here, yeah, I see it here. How you find profit margins for rental Airbnb arbitrage?
This is a question from Larissa Deering.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like there's much room for that in Alberta.
Well, you have to know you need to do data, right? You need to look at like airdna.co, I believe is what it is.
.co.
You need to do some research on how much Airbnbs are going for in your area. Then you can make and then another thing, right? For example, like that was a great question about if you're in between tenants renting it out. The great thing about Airbnb, let's say you're selling your house or you don't know if you're going to sell it or you're going to rent it. You don't know. If you put a tenant in there, you're going to just annoy them to death, right? By have a walkthrough every 5 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Airbnb, you just don't schedule a person every Tuesday and you could have a open house. It's already staged, right? And so if you don't know what you're going to do with the house for 6 months, and you want to just wait till the market, like right now, COVID, right? You want to wait till what happens after COVID if the market bounces or whatever. You can Airbnb it, and then, at least if you put a tenant in there, you're first of all, it'll be difficult to show it. I mean, because you can't just schedule every Tuesday get out of your house. I mean, it's like a great bridge. It's kind of like what we did. I mean, when we first started, I didn't know one person who did Airbnb. I never stayed in I didn't stay in my first Airbnb that I ever stayed in was in Vancouver a year ago.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I've always been a host. I've never been a Airbnb user. Our first time was in this past winter, so we stayed in Vancouver.
I'm gonna throw another question at you. So Airbnb question: do you think it's worthwhile to rent a bedroom in a house on the west end, west of the Anthony Henday, or is that undesirable? So we'll kind of get into some of the geographical demographics of Edmonton. So maybe can you give us some tips around what works, what doesn't work?
Well, this is particular to Edmonton, right? Because I would not rent anything sharing with anybody in Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't do where you live in the house and they live in the house. And there's a lot of problems with that because first of all, the laws are getting stricter. And secondly, I used to in Greece down there in that village down. I'm not too familiar. I've had the house for 2 years there. I don't know the areas that well, but we Airbnb the top, and we let up to 25 people in there, and then we Airbnb the bottom, and it was just. Where
was this? Was it in Edmonton?
In Edmonton, yeah. We rented because
like
you think about how many people, huh?
Was it a sports team or something like that? Or
yeah, sometimes we would have sports teams, and sometimes we have. It depends. I mean, I would let a school come, like they were doing a show or something, and I'd have to have good assurances from. But I mean, that neighborhood that was there was not really good for it. Yeah, but the other house I had, it was no problems with that. It was in the north end though. Yeah, in Edmonton I wouldn't do rooms, and I actually wouldn't do a basement suite again either. And it only have to be a full house because you can charge, because there's so much competition, right? If you do the smaller properties, but if you say I can let up to 16 people, because I had a Airbnb.
That's your unique offering, right? You have to you differentiate yourself.
Now I can charge $400 or $500 a day, and people don't. That's cheap because
per head count. Yeah, for sure, for 15 people per head count. And that's funny. So you kind of get into some of the strategies. I know you, we talked about this before. Was targeting like the really niche kind of market segment. So sports teams, traveling, bands, whatever there might be a large group. So you'd add a bunch of bedrooms to a bunch of rooms. You're telling me you put bunk beds in there and increase the sleeping capacity of a 3 or 4 bedroom house.
Yeah, most people they're not living in your house. They're not they don't care what it looks like. They just want it to be clean and safe, right? They don't want it to be nasty, when they walk in. But do they care that there's like a bunk bed right when you walk in? They don't care. They think it's cool, right? You know, so so I mean, but the more heads you can get in, the higher you can charge, and you'll separate yourself from the rest of the crowd, right? And that's how you. I have a buddy who does Airbnbs in Las Vegas, and there's 40 million people that go there, or 50 million people a year that go there, and the only way his house was getting seen is if he allowed 26 people, right? Because then now from 4,000 Airbnbs, it went down to like
5 or 6.
5.
Yeah.
And then he was just making up prices, right? You can make up prices when it's that high, right?
And
Because
again,
people will understand.
you know, if you got 6, 10 friends, I mean, Airbnb on Las Vegas allowing 25, that gets a little crazy to me, but it totally makes sense. So just kind of round up that question for that user. So he says, or she, sorry, 1 room in a shared house, too complicated, not worth it. And you're saying no. And
no, I wouldn't do it. Just from not in Edmonton.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't do it. Because Edmonton has so many hotel rooms, right? So Edmonton is a tourist area, so you're going now. If you just have 1 room, what's different from me going to Holiday Inn? I get a free breakfast, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think like the consumer too. You got to think, hey, how can I, you know, like Pat Flynn said, that the riches are the niches, right?
Yeah.
You got to create a niche.
Yeah.
You got to put a hot tub or something. Like I had an Airbnb in Vancouver, here in Saskatoon, in Vancouver Road. It was called Vancouver Road, and the first picture was the hot tub that was in the house.
Yeah.
We got a book, you know. We were making $3,000 a month off that thing.
You got karaoke machine in there, a widescreen.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about karaoke machine. Maybe I have a problem with that, but the hot tub was awesome, you know. And even a pool table, you know. Some people put PlayStation 4 or whatever, and so that will. Okay, Airbnb was a classmate at GMAC.
Yeah, I thought I'd throw that question up. I don't know how to answer. Do you know him?
Is it Brian Chesky, the owner of Airbnb, or is?
We'll get them to clarify in the comments.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Maybe that's yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. All good. So someone mentioned, I know it's only about $100 to $200 difference here. Can you comment where that is in Alberta? If you're talking Edmonton. I mean, that's kind of what we've been focusing on. So.
What do you mean? What's the question?
So another person, it's comment. So I'm just kind of going through them on the side here.
I've noticed it's about 100 to 200 a night.
Oh yeah, probably is what they're talking about for their rental rates.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, we're losing a little bit of flow. We'll get back to it.
Well, you need to know. You need to know the events that are happening in an area.
Yeah.
You need to know. You know, you can actually just call hotels and just see what's going on. Like if they're booked at a certain time, you know, you can price. I mean, they do they spend millions of dollars in research, right? Just go off their research.
That is so. Pro tip right there, guys. If you guys are serious about this, and you call your hotels in the area to see what their vacancy rate is and why, and I'm sure they'll just tell you, oh yeah, there's so and so conference for tractors or whatever, right, in the area, agricultural, something going on. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. I would say something. I didn't mention that Airbnb is not the only platform that we use. We use VRBO. Vacation rental, but actually older than Airbnb. They're also the same company as HomeAway. You can use them. You can. I also use FlipKey, which is TripAdvisor's platform.
Oh,
and Expedia. You can actually Expedia is the largest platform, right, of everything. Right, Expedia is the largest in the world, and they actually are allowing you to list as well. So now they don't have the guarantees like Airbnb, but honestly, I would. Like a lot of people are apprehensive about renting out, and they worry about damage and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think I don't.
About that.
I wouldn't worry. Like your tenant could do the same thing, right? I mean, it's the same worries that you have with your tenant. It's like even much like less with me. I don't.
And
care.
like the nice thing you said about the cleaning, right? You get that periodic weekly cleaning, which to be frank, probably doesn't happen with a long-term tenant. So,
Yeah.
so someone brought up a cool a thing. This was one of my initial concerns when I talked to you about this strategy. Was my main issue is with the cleaning service. So how do you manage cleaning services? How do you make sure it works? Because I was like, how do I know the house isn't getting cleaned? And then I bring in my next Airbnb guest, and they're like, this place is dirty. So how do you manage expectations? How do you make sure your property gets cleaned reliably?
Well, I mean, you'd have to. What I would say is you'd clean it yourself first, so you can create a system, right? Okay, have a checklist, because you got to moron proof it, right? I mean, you get mad at
Yeah.
somebody cleaning, but you didn't tell them how to do it, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Step one, documentation.
yeah. I mean, document. You got to make sure that it's that it passes. Like any stupid person could figure this out, right?
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
when you do say, hey, you missed this, you missed 3A, you missed 3B, you know?
Yeah, you got the documentation to follow up. So
And most people aren't trying to like screw with you, right? They want to, I mean,
yeah, they want to do a good job, but they just need to know how.
yeah, my cleaners, I mean, cleaning Airbnb is like the easiest cleaning ever, right? The thing that takes the longest is laundry, right? And if you have a laundry like if you have enough sheets, and I had enough sheets that I didn't have to clean for a month.
Oh,
I guess
right?
the answer is that if you're getting complaints from your next client and your next client that it's not being done, you need to get on top of why it's not cleaned properly.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
I think you gauge it that way, and you, of course, you have your periodic random checks to make sure it's being done right. And if you're happy with that, then you build your relationship from there. So that's good.
Okay. Well, we're quarter to the hour. I know you've given us lots of time there, Alex. Do you want to maybe wrap up if there's anything on your top of your mind, and then maybe I want to give you an opportunity to plug your business or what you're doing. If you've got anything to go, share it with the group.
Yeah, I mean, I thank MacKenzie and Chris for allowing me to do this. You know, every time I speak, I'm like, hey, I don't do that anymore. So I need I need to do that checklist again. So it's kind of like it's a dual purpose thing. Like I need to recheck my systems and recheck my things. So it's kind of
we're all improving, right? So
yeah.
Totally cool.
But yeah, MacKenzie's gonna put my email out.
Yeah.
Basically, I do, you know,
I'll do that
yeah.
right now.
So if you want to reach out to me, you can shoot me I don't have any problems answering emails. And you know, we have a consulting business for Airbnb. But I mean, honestly, I'll answer your questions. If you want to get really serious about it, I can coach you through it. But it's just like, I mean, a lot of it you can just find online. I mean, it's not like. But I mean, honestly, if I had somebody that could help me, it would probably help me better, not learn from all my mistakes. But
I think the difference would be, like, kind of riff on what you're saying, Alex, is you can figure this out on your own. But if you want to cut your time down and get up running quicker and faster, working with someone like yourself, Alex, where you've already had the experience, you can streamline people's
and then this is so the great thing, and that's a good point. The great thing about Airbnb, the margins aren't razor thin, right? So if I'm going to pay extra $10 to have a better cleaner, I don't care, right? It's not like we're shooting for just to be positive here. We're shooting for like $1,000 a month extra, right? We're not shooting for like $200 extra a month. Yeah. And so that allows you a lot more flexibility to you know, to pay people right. Like my cleaners, when they clean the Airbnbs, I mean, they're not saying this is crappy money, right? You know, and if they do, I just pay them more, right? And I just, you know what I do? I just add $5 extra to each guest. People don't notice that, you know. They like, if you know, if I want to add this service, or if I want to add, I just add $1. Who's gonna notice for something going from $88 to $89? Nobody's gonna notice that. But in the bottom line, if you do that enough, you know, that's a lot of money. It's just like, you know, how Home Depot and Walmart make money, right? Through just adding a cent to a thing is a big deal, right? So it's like,
cool. That's
the great thing about Airbnb. And honestly, you can do this type of stuff where you can just consult. I mean, I've been offloading the Airbnbs I'm working with now, but it's definitely a great experience. And it actually propelled me to learning Airbnb has kind of propelled me to other things that I'm doing now. So
that's cool. That's very, very cool. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time. I know we've kept away from your wife and your 6 kids, so it's super cool for giving you your time with us tonight. I mean, awesome. super cool. If people got more questions, throw them out. I can always bring back. I'm sure maybe if I can politely ask, bring back Alex for another rendition.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
come
there's all
back.
we touched on a lot of things here, and
High level, really, too. I think
it's really high level. Yeah. So, yeah. If you want me to talk about something, another aspect of it, but yeah, definitely. Just email me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer.
Perfect.
And one person here just commented, if you're offloading Airbnbs, I'm interested. So maybe you can go back. Santa Weston, Santa, you can connect with Alex, or Alex, you can go back and pick up her name on here. And she's interested in what you're offloading. Maybe there's a business there. So.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Just shoot me an email. And
there.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Alex, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll chat again. You guys have a good night.
Keep in touch, man.
You bet, buddy. Okay, take care.
Right.
Okay. Chris, I think we'll propose to the audience here. I have a bunch of weekly questions I got off of the group I kind of want to go over. I know you do too as well. So folks, if you don't mind, or if you have to go, that's totally fine. I think, Chris, should we do a little bit of overtime? Maybe go 8:15?
I think if we just bang off a few questions here quickly, I can pick up a question and read it, and you can read one, and then some of it will overlap, and yeah, let's do that. We won't get too far over because we lose everybody's interest, right? So. All
right. Well, I mean, if you guys are okay with us going longer, let us know. If not, we'll respect people's time and we'll end this at 8:00. We just want to make sure, again, we're getting the value. So, okay, I'm going to start off pretty quickly here. I had an email come in for a gentleman here in Calgary who this weekend is going through and he's closing on his first turnkey suite of property. So super excited. Congratulations, Grant. Way to go, bud. So his question was, how could I do showings of the property prior to taking possession near the end of the month so I can have both the upstairs and downstairs rented as soon as possible? So super cool. I like this one. And actually what it comes down to is just putting some terms or clauses into your sales contract. And it's probably going to be on the term side because a term is a little more flexible. It's not like a must do, where a clause is a hard stop on the sales contract, meaning if it's not met, the deal does not go through. So you don't want to tank a deal by trying to get some early access. But what you could typically put in as a term saying, with 8-hour notice, can I have access to the property to bring in trades and something of that nature? And you get that put into your sales contract that gets agreed. You've now got access, especially if you're purchasing a month or 3 weeks on advance, to start bringing tenants in. And you can do all your viewings before you even own the property. So this will set you up when you get to the day of taking possession. You can almost do your move-in inspections in that afternoon, take the keys from the realtor, take them over here and give them to the tenant, collect your rents, and you're off to the races. It's a really cool way to get set, especially if you're doing a turnkey real estate investment. So tip number one. All right, Chris, rip with your first question.
One of the questions, actually, I'm going to deal with one I had tonight because it was rather interesting. We have someone a lady that got a hold of me, and she said that the renters that were in there had been in there for 2 months and were coming at her with a whole bunch of questions and a whole bunch of issues. This is broken. For example, the stove wasn't working. So she changed the stove. And then she had some screens had some holes in it they want to fix. So she got the screens and she fixed the screens, and it went on. So it's always like a nickel and dime thing. And you know what? You have to deal with those until you get those nickel and dimes picked up. But then she would get replies back, okay, I dropped off this at your house. I set it outside, didn't want to bother you. And then get a comment back that was, oh, am I going to have to deal with this every 2 weeks? And, it's just a real negative thing.
So a pessimistic tenant is kind of like just being really picky and doesn't seem to be very fair, and she's just constantly being going after this landlord. So,
right.
So what do you suggest for this, Chris?
So what happened there is in this case, is we chatted tonight, and I said, let's call a spade a spade. Do you want this tenant anymore? She goes, no, it's going to make me crazy. I said, you know what? Then call it. They won't get. And the other issue was she wanted tenant insurance. They wouldn't get it. So I said, simple. I posted this on the page tonight if those of you had read it. Simple thing is, she says, all right, well, if you won't get the tenant insurance, it's part of the lease requirements. You're in breach of it. Plus the other people saying, well, I want out of my lease. Well, it's a no-brainer. They want out. You want them out. So posted the two things on there. Sure, I accept your 30-day notice, and in addition to that, you have until the end of the month to get out because you're in violation of it. So you got a two-tiered, get out thing. So I think what I'm trying to say there is you know what? Take care of yourself and your business, and run like a business. Stop worrying about whether you're going to tenant. You got one this time. Don't think you're not going to get another one again. Get it advertised. Get somebody in there. Stand up for yourself. That's the biggest thing. Stop being bullied by your tenants. And
you know what? If you look at the tenant pool, 9 out of 10 tenants, nine times out of 10, tenants are great. It's these 10% bad apples that we all worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. So anyway, she's now serving notice, and out she goes. So
that's cool. That's good. That's a great way to claim. So Alicia earlier in the week mentioned she was getting some application, and she got a homeowner who recently was going through divorce and just sold their home, and they had no rental experience. So she was asking, how do I qualify a person like this? So we had a great response in the group. There's 13 replies. I'm just going to kind of sum up with some of the suggestions people made, which I think were perfect. So Rob both said, ask for the mortgage papers. Other people are going through, and I'm losing myself here. So then I mentioned as well, collect as many details around that sale they've talked about. So they said, yeah, I've sold my house and we're looking to start renting. Get dates, the address, pricing, everything, any kind of information you can get. And then there's two places you can kind of confirm it. A free check that's really quick, and it'll take you 2 seconds. If you're in the bigger cities, so I know for sure Calgary and Edmonton have it, maybe Red Deer, maybe Lethbridge, but is a place called honestdoor.com, and I'll drop it in the comments. And they're a new service. They've been out maybe a year now, and what they do, they're taking MLS data, and they're showing you like recent sales on that property, and they'll give you a market, a current market price and what it's worth. So it's a really good thing to look at if you're looking at selling or acquiring a property. You can kind of get a benchmark of what it's worth. Anyways, you can take this, and if it will show the last time this house was transacted, it might get picked up, and it might match the data this prospective tenant is applying. Another thing is, and this got voted really popular, and this is something I suggested as well, and about 5 other members, is go to Spin 2. If you just Google Spin and then like an I and an I, and then Alberta, it's the online titles database. You can pull titles anywhere in Alberta. It costs you in and around $10. And when you pull title, you get the current owner, you get their full name and a mailing address. And the mailing address can be that title, that address that you looked up, or it could be a separate property as well. So if they go and say, I used to live in this property for such and such a date, and they just sold it, you should be able to pull title and match that name for name. So there's another way, validating it from a trusted third party, which is our land titles. Chris, what's your take on this? We were talking about this before the break or before the show, and you had a really good tip that might be even easier than I just suggested.
Well, what I thought there is simply, you got somebody coming from who used to own a house for 15 years and they sold it. Well, there has to be a sales contract signed up. Get the sales contract and any what do you call it when you're removal of conditions. So then the closing date. Just ask them to show you the sales contract, and it'll be signed by a realtor, and the owners, the buyers, all the information's on there, and that's a really great, easy way to verify what's going on.
Yeah. So if they just sold their home, they'll have a purchase contract, the paperwork. Ask them for it, basically. I'm thinking about why they might throw an obligation to this. They're like, privacy or something like that. But at the end of the day, you go back to, well, hey, I get that, you understand, but I would assume as a homeowner, you'd probably know that it's expensive to own a home. It's our most valuable asset. I'm giving you keys or possession of it. So I do need to validate that what you're telling me is the truth. So, and there's no cost off the back for them. So someone's fired up some comments in caps, which I love. They go, what? And then they go next. So good to know. Yeah, it's just, when it comes to this game, we are just trying to figure out if people are telling us the truth. So how can we get different data points that are trustworthy, that we know we're getting the truth or the full picture? And this is kind of the theme I run along when I do my tenant screening, my landlord checks, all these different things. And the way the world's going with all this information we have out there, the internet, there's more and more online services, there's more databases popping up, like Honestore, for example. There's just going to become more and more places to fact check. So we just got to collect questions and get the information to validate that they are true. So that's kind of how I operate. And I'm really, I don't know, my mind's in a weird space and I don't think this way. So if you got questions on any kind of weird things, let me know and I'll help out and see if I can find a method to validate. So awesome. Okay, I got to give a quick shout out to Brendan as well. So he did something really cool this week. He made a point of calling the RTDRS and talk about serving papers if it could be done on a USB stick, in particular for evidence. So I'm not super familiar with the process, so I'm not going to try to tell you how it works. But basically, to serve papers, I assume it has to be paperwork, physical papers. And Brendan said he got permission, or said that they are allowing you to serve papers that you can put all the evidence on a USB stick. So in his example, he mentioned he had 350 pages worth of evidence. I wish I had some more details on you now. In hindsight, I should have asked for that. But you can serve the evidence portion of your paperwork on a digital copy. So I hope that helps some of you guys out there. You got that confirmed on Monday right from RTDRS. So thank you, Brendan, for that tip for the community. Okay, Chris, anything else you want to rip on?
Rent-to-owns. There was a comment today on rent-to-owns. Some people had mixed feelings on it. Some people felt it was disadvantaging the renter or whatever. I think that if you're, there's people on our site, ask for the people that are doing it, how they, what their experiences are. I think it's a great thing, rent-to-owns. The risk for you in it is low because the person paying has to pay a reasonable market value of rent. Anything over that is now the deposit. So you get your rent and you get your deposit, and that deposit grows. So if it's over the 2 years, that money builds, and that's going to be their deposit in your pocket, paid to you as long as you. But you got to get these contracts written up properly with a lawyer or somebody with a legal knowledge, because the banks don't want to look at them unless they're written up properly and effectively on a rent-to-own. You have to show that they are paying reasonable market value for rent, and on top of that, they're paying additional for the down payment.
Correct. Yeah.
That's important to know. There is a huge difference there. And if you're saying, well, we're just going to let them pay that rent, is going to be the deposit, the down payment. The financing, and it's going to be hell on wheels for you to get something done. So look into these things, how they're done right. And at the end of the day, if they do back out, yeah, you know what? The renter / buyer, they lose out. They'll lose all their money. But again, it's business. It's just business. You will, if you're going to enter into these type of contracts, you know what? You should be following through it with the intention of, in 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is, buying this house. So.
Yeah. So I'll add on to that, Chris, and I've got 3 things. So number one, let's talk about why people don't like it, right? So why this is actually a really good business model and why it does work and people do it is you're gonna get people who get themselves into a hole, right? They are getting foreclosed on. They don't want their credit to be hurt. Who knows why they've gotten themselves to that position? But at that point, they're quite willing to offload a property under market value to save their own credit. It could be for those. I'm trying to read this stuff at the same time. Okay, I'll focus on the conversation. Sorry. There could be a number of reasons why someone wants to have a property. If you're helping them meet what they want, and at the same time, it's a give or take. Like, you're not going to risk your financial position to take a house at market if they need to offload tomorrow because they're going through foreclosure or whatever it might be. So this is why rent-to-owns work in one place. You actually really are creating a win-win here as well. Further to what Chris says, talking about you collect market rent in one bucket, and then you collect the, and I'm forgetting the proper terminology, it's the deposit money that's above and beyond the rent. Now, one thing I know here, and I did look at doing the strategy, is these rents have to be these monies, these buckets have to be collected separately. You have to have one account over here for the rent, and then the other over here for the deposit. And if this is not managed on the transaction side accordingly, you can get yourself into a little bit of hot water if the tenant starts to come back and ask for their money back. So you want to structure it right. The third item I kind of wanted to just like get people thinking about this. For this strategy to work, you either have to, in our current market where we're in a flat market right now, or even possibly a little bit of a recession. I don't know if I want to quite go there, but you know, we're definitely not really raising prices anywhere. You got to be buying a house well under market value, so you can put a spread in there to make some money on doing this strategy. And it really is like a 2 to 3 year strategy. You don't really want to go beyond that. You can always renew the person after the fact. For example, I know people have issues with COVID and everything going on that they've renewed their rent to own tenants. But you kind of want to keep that exposure on a shorter time frame. You don't want to be going into 5 or 6 or 7 years. It's a 1 to 3 year strategy. On the flip side, when this strategy really excels and does well is when we're in a booming economy and your houses are appreciating year over year, year over year. So what happens there is you also create another win-win. You create a spread for yourself to take a profit home, and when the tenant eventually gets to buy the house at the end of 3 years, at the beginning of the deal, 3 years before, you picked it, you predicted a price out in the future, and you picked it, and you've gotten a spread of say a 3% appreciation. Now, if we're in a booming market and houses are appreciating at maybe 4, 4.5, or 5% year over year, they also get a win as the tenant buying your property because they're now buying it slightly under the market value 3 years in the future. So that's kind of how it's a win-win. So there's a lot of good information on it. If this is something the group is really interested in, I am by no means the expert, but I know people who do this very, very well, and I'd be happy to bring in as a guest speaker. So comment away if that works for you guys. All right, Chris, you got your next tip or question?
I'm good. I'll let you wind up whatever you got to do there, and then we will let people off the hook.
Okay, cool. We are about 6 minutes past. I'll just throw a quick pro tip of the week. I learned this from the group, so thank you guys for sharing this. I think I got a drink of water. If you've noticed on my screen here, I actually have 3 glasses of water just to keep the vocal cords working here. But anyways, so great pro tip. So this gal, and I want to give her credit. And I don't have her name here, so I will go back and loop that in here. She had a great pro tip about going from one tenant to the next tenant, and you're doing your move out to your move in inspection. And she's like, what a great tip was, a great tip to save you on your time when you're writing up these inspections is you actually just copy your last move out inspection notes on your rental suite, and you pop that into your move in inspection notes for the incoming tenant. So what you've done is you've already preloaded all your notes onto the next inspection report, and you don't have to rewrite it every time when you do the walkthrough. And to be honest, that's what I was doing. I was just like, okay, new person, new inspection report. I would spend 35, 45 minutes doing my move-in inspection with someone, and I'm pretty much writing the same notes from my previous move-out inspection. So there's a bit of a time saver there for you guys as well. So yeah, that's my tip of the week. Save yourself some paperwork and streamline your process a bit with the move-in inspections. So I know I had a lot of fun today. I'm tired. I've drank 2 glasses of water. Chris, what's your thoughts here? I'm enjoying this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. In closing here, just a couple things just about keeping your paperwork in order. So take your applications. And tonight, again, in conversation I had with people, was the lack of information they had and trying to figure out where they work because things might be going sideways. Very important. Take your application, get those jobs, get those references, get those banks, get those identifications, and get that information in place so you have it for down the road. Hopefully everything, well, likely everything will go well, but that few percent that goes sideways, you want to have that information. So I call it the AIS. It's application information, then you have your salvation.
Cool. Love it. Awesome. Yeah, well, we wrapped up an hour and 8 minutes here, another dedicated talk show to landlording in Alberta. I love that. I love that we have a talk show about landlording. It's such a weird subject, and I don't know why I'm smiling and enjoying this, but I really am. So it's cool that we have you guys tune in. We still have 10 people watching right now. We kind of bounced around. I just watched it from 10 to 15 people tonight. So again, thank you guys for your time. Like right on. Like this is cool. We wanted to empower you guys, make your business better, reduce your risk. We all invest in real estate, not because we want to become landlords, but we all have families, you know, dreams, our vacations. There's other reasons why we're here, and we're taking control of our future to get there. And I 100% respect that. That's such a power move, and I want to provide whatever we can for you guys to reach your dreams and aspirations and goals that much faster without as much risk. So
stay tuned for during the week. You heard from Viller. We got tons coming up down the pipe from him. We've got people we're meeting Friday. Well, actually, MacKenzie and I are going to meet for the very first time in person.
Yeah, I haven't even met him in person. I'll probably give Chris a hug. I said I'm all COVID free, but I'm going to give him a hug anyways.
Wear my personal protection, whatever.
Yeah, wear your mask and gloves. I do have an 11-month-old and a 3-year-old, and they still eat dirt, so I don't know. But yeah, hey, awesome. Someone said, I just, we appreciate the positive comments. This is so much fun. So the goal is here, guys. This is gonna be weekly. Let us know if the interviews are good, or maybe we should pull them out into a separate call just for that, because I think too a lot of the reasons why you guys are tuning in was for the Q&A that we're doing and bouncing off ideas and giving you guys different feedback. And really, we're just, again, Chris and I, our role is with you guys. We want to enable you guys to make your business that much more powerful. Take all these nuances, these pro tips, and just get better at being a landlord so it's easier, so you're not worried and stressed, and you're building for your financial future. So I don't know, should we wrap it up and kind of go on? And
I got to throw out there, I just want to throw the little carrot out there for you guys. The things are working out. I told you we got Viller. We're actually going to chat with a lawyer that and see if we can get you some kind of discounted rates for doing your mortgages. We're not sure how that's going yet, but these are the things we're working on. We are expanding our legal connections to be able to provide you with services from Edmonton to Calgary. We've got lots going on. So I'm happy to pass that on to you guys. And it's exciting to build this for everybody's benefit. So.
Yeah, totally. Cool. All right. I'll have to go back in the Facebook group and read this stuff, but we're babbling now. It's 10 past. So thanks everyone. We'll talk to you next week, the only live talk show for landlording in Alberta. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Take care, everyone.